Hello, Workplace Math 10 students. This is the third and last lesson in the Statistics Central Tendency unit. This one is on the mode, which is the most frequently occurring value in a set of data. So let's take a look at what this looks like. So once again, the assignment that you're going to see in Google Classroom is called S3, Statistics Central Tendency, and the actual Mathletics assignment is called Mode. So looking at this, just a couple of things to review before we get into the Mathletics questions. As we've already talked about, we have looked at the mean, which is the average. In other words, we take the total of all the numbers and we divide it by the numbers to figure out the middle point. Last lesson, we looked at the median, which is when we organize all of the numbers from lowest to highest and then look at the middle value in that set. So in the case of 30 numbers, it would be number 15 and 16 that we took the average of. Now today we're going to look at the mode, which is the most frequently occurring. And once again, that is the number that occurs more often than any other in that set of data. And I just need to say this right off the bat, and you won't see it probably in your Mathletics assignment, but you can have more than one mode. If you have, let's say, two numbers or three numbers that appear more than all the other numbers, you can have three numbers that are the mode. But most of the time, you'll have one number that occurs more often than any of the others. Now, once again, the range is a useful thing to understand because any of these three central tendencies have to fall somewhere in between that range. They must fall there. So notice that 5.6, 6, and 4 all fall between the range between 2 and 10. And so that range of values is 8, but it has to fall between a number 2 and 10 to be one of the central tendency values. And this is the reason I want to discuss this right now, why we would look at any of these. So there is a variety of different values or graphs that you may see, and I'm just going to show you 4 examples of them. So one of them, let's take a look at this one. If we were looking at a graph like this type of graph, what type of central tendency might be most relevant for this? Well, really, when we look at this, what we see is we see categorical data. We're seeing types of music, hip hop, classical, rock, jazz, and the one that's going to be most useful for us in this particular case to tell us what is most popular would be the mode, because the most frequently occurring, in other words, the one that one has more than any of the others, which in this case is jazz is going to be the one that we want to sort of identify here. So the mode would be the most useful of the 3 central tendencies here to identify what's really going on with this data. In this particular case here, what we have is what we might call, a lot of times you might heard of a bell or a normal curve. And when we have a perfectly nice uniformed distribution of numbers like this, the one that is most useful in this case is the mean, because the average is going to show us pretty clearly what basically the middle point is of this distribution. And so the mean is going to be a very useful feature for this. So let's just, I'm just going to erase this off here and then look at 2 other examples quickly before we get into the mode. So the reason why I'm showing this once again is just that we have looked at 3 different central tendencies as of this point, and what's the use of these? And it's important that we understand that there is a reason for these, there is a use for these. So another example here is this one here. And what we see here in this particular case is we see this example of outliers. So this out here is what we call an outlier. This is something that's way off the extreme of the information. So an example of this is, let's say we had a test. And let's say that the vast majority of people did really well on the test. Let's say this is an A. Right? Like they got like 90% or above. But, and you know, some people didn't do so well, but then somebody down here got 10% on the test. Well, that 10%, or maybe a couple people got 10%, could really skew the average of this and really give an impression that the average of this test was more around like, you know, around like 50 or 60%, when in fact, the vast majority of people got an A. So really in this case, there's 2 measures that might be useful. One would be the mode, because it shows us the most frequently occurring, which would be this one here. So that would be the mode. But another one might be the median as well. We could use a median here, and the median measurement is going to tell us that basically, hey, you know what? Even though the average might be way down here, the middle point of this is somewhere here. So mode or median would be useful in this case here, and hopefully you understand why, because when we have outliers, they really shift the average a lot. So once again, if you have like 4 people who get 0 on a test out of 20, it makes everyone look like they pretty much on an average got a fail, but really that's just not the case. It's just maybe 4 people who didn't bother even studying for the test. Now, in this particular case where we're looking at average rainfall, and sometimes you'll see these in science. You'll have a whole plot on a timeline or something like this of what has occurred. And sometimes what a science teacher will ask you to do is they'll basically ask you to try and find the line of best fit. In other words, the line that fits closest between each of these points. And what we're talking about when we talk about that is we're trying to find the median. So the median is going to allow us to find sort of the middle ground between all those values there where it sort of falls within. So the median in this particular case, in this example, would probably be the most useful to give us a real sense of what the annual rainfall is across all the years, as opposed to one or the other, one specific year. So hopefully that makes sense to you. I'm just going to clear this off and come back in here just to clean that up a bit. But hopefully that makes sense now why we would use a mean or a median and a mode. And we could always calculate all 3 of those, but one of them may be most useful when we're looking at a distribution to really give us a sense of what's going on. Now let's take a look, at the last Mathletics assignment and how you would do this. So last day we looked at median, and we looked at how you need to organize these in order to then determine the middle points, the middle 2 point values in that set of numbers. Now the mode, you don't really need to do that per se, but it's sometimes useful to organize it this way anyways, just so we can see very clearly which number occurs most frequently. So in this case here, I'm just going to write them out. So I'm just going to do it sort of like I did with the median. I'm just going to write 11 here, and then I'm going to write 13. And does it have to be in order? No, it does not. But if we organize them in order, then it's very easy to see which number appears most often. So I'm just organizing these. And once again, I had kind of looked at these beforehand, so I can sort of identify these maybe a little quicker. You might have to take a little harder look and sort of really analyze it. But we've got 11, 13, 14, 18, and then we've got 20. And we've got another 20. And we've got another 20. And then we've got a whole bunch of 21s. So we've got 1. We've got another 21. We've got another 21. We've got another 21. And we have a last 21. Now, I'm just going to tally these up. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I have 12 numbers. I should have 12 numbers here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. So I do have 12 numbers. And hopefully, when I organize it this way, it's pretty easy to see that there's 21 is the most frequently occurring. It has 5 numbers, and the next closest is 20 with 3 numbers. So that's why the mode is 21. It's the most frequently occurring in this section. So let's just take a look again at the next question. We'll do a couple more just so you can see how this looks. So let's take a look at this one here. So once again, if I'm organizing this and trying to find the mode, let me just get back into that. If I organize this and trying to get in the mode, I would put down number 11 is the first, and I actually have 3 occurrences of that. Then I have a 13. Don't have any other more 13s, but then I have a bunch of 15s. So I have a 15 here. I have another 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 15 here. So I have 5 15s, and then I have a 16, I have an 18, and I have a 20. That was really badly written, 20. So now let's just double check this. So I have 12 numbers in here, and I should have 12 numbers here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I have 12 numbers. And now it should be pretty easy for us to identify when we organize it this way that there are 5 15s, and the next closest is 11 with 3. So the mode then would be 15 here. Because that's the most frequently occurring. And once again, sort of kind of gives an indication of where the clumping of values are. I'm just going to stop share there, and then I'm just going to bring it up one more time. Last question here. So this one here, once again, we're trying to find the mode, and once again, we're going to try and organize into from lowest to highest. And do I have to set it up this way? No, I could probably, if you are, you know, very able, you know, very observant, you could probably sort of identify just by kind of quickly looking at which one looks like it occurs most and do it. But this is a sort of a more accurate and method that will probably result in less errors by use. So once again, maybe is more wise to use this style, particularly if you are finding that you're getting questions wrong when you're just rushing and sort of trying to pick out a particular most frequently occurring value. So if we carry on here though, I've got a couple 12s, then I've got my 14, and then I've got a 16, and then I have a 17, and lastly I have a 21. So I have 12 numbers here again. I should just count these up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I have 12 numbers. I have obviously probably very likely put it incorrectly. And hopefully we can now see that there are 4 occurrences of 11, and the next most frequently occurring would be 12 and 10. So the mode here is 11. Now I just want to state this before I go. If let's imagine that we had 3 10s and we had 3 11s and we had 3 12s in this. If that were the case, the mode would actually be 10, 11, and 12. You can have more than one mode. If there are more than one frequently occurring value, then you have more than one mode. So once again, it's not always just one number. So hopefully that makes sense to you. So that's it for this. Thanks for watching. And once again, as always, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to email me or give me a call.